right, welcome back. So it looks like what we're talking about, it looks like the general theme I can pull lessons out of what we talked about today is really about identity and how identity can absolutely kill relationships or I mean, how should I say it? Just identity issues is a real thing, especially in this time and age. We're in the middle of a transition. I've told you that, guys. Prestige family, you should know this by now. We're in the middle of a transition. Our parents have no idea what we have to deal with in this era. If they could be the best teachers, trainers, parents in the world, there's no way they could have taught us what we have to deal with today. Okay, but the same thing can be said about any generation, because every 10 years a new generation, and we're talking about 20 years later on, your parents is probably around 20 years old or more older than you, okay, for the most part, right? So there's only so much they can teach you. They can teach you core values that you can maybe hopefully work with, but when it comes to identity issues, what we're seeing is that it is destroying a lot of relationships. Okay, so imagine in the case of this girl we're talking about, and the way she's been raised, the first 13 years of her life right now has been a big old misunderstanding around our identity. You saw her say, hey, and we've seen a lot of situations like this where people are raised in single parent household by even the two parent household, but maybe because there was an issue between the mother and the father, and then they have to deal with identity issues. Some people are actually raised on the same household with their father and they still have to deal with identity issues because the parents were never in good terms. They couldn't maintain a united front, and before you know it, now this is the real meaning of curses going down from one generation to another. So I want to share 5 things I want you to pay attention to when it comes to this. As you know, we extract life and relationship lessons from trendy topics. We try to flip some of these trendy topics into real life things that we can learn and continue to learn. So don't forget to continue to share this with other people. The first thing I want to share with you with regards to that is unclear identity creates permanent emotional instability. Okay, what do I mean by that? People need to know where they belong. Okay, people need to know where they belong. They need it to, and I'm not talking biologically. Biologically is the least of them. Okay, biologically is the obvious one. Okay, because sometimes people are actually born out of special circumstances. Some people are born orphans, right? Some people end up in the streets when they were little, maybe they run away or something, but they're going to fight issues with identity later on at some point. So they need to belong somewhere. So when I say this, I'm talking generally across the board. And it doesn't have to be about parenting or even marriage per se necessarily. Sometimes in your professional life, there's a need to belong somewhere. It's what we also connect to what we call significance in the 6 basic human needs, right? When you belong somewhere, when you feel like you belong somewhere, you are better equipped to move, to navigate life. People like to blame marriage for a lot of things, but honestly, it's just life issues, okay? A lot of this stuff are life issues. When you're uncertain about your identity, it can create anger, right? It can create obsession. It can create desperation. You know why some people seek validation in the wrong places? Precisely because of what we're talking about. Sometimes unclear identity, right? Unclear identity creates a lot of issues for a lot of people. So I just want you to pay attention to that. It creates confusion, okay? The last thing you want, this is like I told you, life is beautiful, but this world is gruesome. This world is cold, can be cold, So the last position you want to be is where you are looking for a place to belong. If you don't, you will make the wrong choices, even when it comes to life partners, right? Because you're doing it from a place of seeking validation, okay? So even, life is going to throw all of us a curveball, right? When it throws you a curveball, how you respond to that is also everything. Sometimes that becomes a struggle. So identity confusion, it creates wounds that struggles to heal over time. Because again, all of us go collect, right? Not just breakfast though, but just life. It could be at work, somebody's hating on you or anything like that. When you don't have a good sense of identity that's well rooted, you will struggle to heal past those things. So here's what I'm going to tell you. When people don't know who they are, to someone or even a particular community, they become dangerous to themselves and potentially to other people. Let's move on to number 2. I spent too long on that. Public shame changes private behavior. Okay, remember again, we're pointing this back to significance, right? We have 6 basic human needs: certainty, variety, significance, connection, growth, and contribution, right? We have those things. So significance, aka validation, right? We just don't want to be obsessed with it, right? But the reality is that if you have it, if it's coming from inside out, if your community make you feel like you belong, then you don't have to worry. So public shame can also translate to other issues. So let me say to you very simply like this: people act differently when the world is watching. You know how some people pull out the camera and say, I want to film this, I want evidence. Ironio, if you are the one filming, now you have a filter on. No, I'm not talking about the filter you put on TikTok. I'm talking about the automatic filter that you put on when you're the one operating the camera, right? And also pride. Let's talk about pride. Pride often becomes louder than the truth. And yes, present as the truth. Okay? No, to you that you think you're telling the truth. It's a lot of time it's just pride. Okay? You're not listening long enough to be able to claim that's the truth. It's just pride. I'm not talking about pride where your shoulder is like this. Wait to do your shoulder. Not that one. I'm talking about the silent, dangerous pride that comes from your blind spot. You can't see it. Okay? Reputation becomes more important than resolution. Okay? Reputation. Yoruba people sọ pé orúkọ rere ó sàn ju wúrà lọ. A good name is better than gold and silver. Well, it's wura's gold. Gold. All right. So when shame becomes public, the truth becomes negotiable. No, the truth is always the truth. You're a liar. The truth is not always the truth. Sometimes that truth is just your own truth. It is not the absolute truth. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3 says, before we move on to number 3, shout out to Mary. Mary says, I'm not sure why they cannot approach his father or the family in a more civil way. Kemi is the one behind all this online confrontation. I can bet on this. I don't think anyone can just approach Davido and his family. I don't think so. You know, I think the only thing, maybe a lawyer, but again, they said the lawyer has passed away. I'm not sure if you can just approach big people like that in Nigeria, but it's a good question nonetheless. Let's move on to number 3. Children always pay for adult chaos. You know, when they say to from first generation to second generation, third generation, and fourth generation, we need to be careful with our behavior, because children, the children you care about, of course, will pay for it. Sometimes they pay for it in weird, twisted ways. Okay? Adults, we can fight with our words. Children grow with consequences. They have to pay certain consequences of our behavior in the past. Obviously, not just financial, in every aspect of life, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Trauma is inherited. I want you to know this and know peace. Trauma is inherited without permission. No, they don't have to sign up for it. This is why children are vulnerable. Okay? Adults argue for pride. Listen to me carefully. Adults, they argue for pride, right? But children is slightly different. Children, they have to suffer a lot of these things for life. So when, again, we're covering all these trendy stories or catching crews, please, let's gather wisdom as much as possible, because social media is real life. Okay? This is they're just pretending. These are just celebrities. These are not our life. That's a lie. Okay? They are a reflection. We put them there. Either we're talking about politicians or entertainers. We put them there. They're a reflection of who we are. Every time you point fingers at them, we're pointing fingers at ourselves. Let's move on to number 4 real quick. Number 4, loyalty without wisdom becomes harassment. What do I mean? Support, right? You want to support your own. There's a story of John Lennon. Go and find the story of John Lennon and how he was unalived. Fans, be careful. Have some self-awareness around your fanhood. If you're a fan of a certain person, I'm a fan of a lot of people. I love some of them. I mean, why do you think I use celebrity stories? I value them, okay, because they make our world go around, entertain us, right? But the way you support can easily turn to cruelty, if you're not self-aware, especially if you're not self-aware, especially if you can relate from a place of pain, you have to be very, very careful. Okay, group loyalty can kill empathy. Group loyalty is usually a lot of it is misery loves company. Okay, a lot of it is misery loves company. A lot of it is polarized views. Polarized views are dangerous. Okay, if I want to blow up a YouTube channel, all I have to do is to have one polarized view and face down one direction. It doesn't matter what direction. All I have to do is make sure I curse out the whole other side. If I curse them out, then a bunch of people who agree with me will just follow me. It's very dangerous. Defending someone doesn't justify destroying others. Okay, let's be careful. And by the way, you tell on yourself on how you handle a lot of these issues. Loyalty without wisdom always turns violence. You see, everything in life is a double-edged sword. Yes, including loyalty. You didn't know that. I bet you didn't. Well, this is a reminder in case you did. Number 5, closure. Be careful when we say the word closure. Closure is more valuable than winning. Closure comes from the inside out. Closure does not mean you have to talk to somebody. That's not what it means. Closure is actually, it might involve that, but sometimes you don't have that luxury. So be careful when I use the word closure. Some people fight to be right. Okay, in other words, don't try to look for closure from them. Okay, some people fight to be right, not to be healed, not to understand. They don't care, and sometimes they're not aware that they don't care. Okay, so no, why can't you just be like, they might not have the capability of doing that. So closure requires humility, and it needs to start with you. If you're looking for closure, humble yourself. There's something that you already know that you need to just take in as the truth, and the only thing you can control. Winning arguments. Winning argument, we all do it, don't we? We all do it. Okay, I don't do it as much as I used to, because I talk about this all the time. So, but you need to learn how to avoid arguments. Okay, gentlemen, avoid arguments with your ladies. It doesn't work, you never win. But in general, avoid arguments. I use the word avoid because I know sometimes you find yourself stumble into it by mistake, because you know that you are right, and this person is trying to gaslight you. I know. Yeah, in that space, that's precisely when you need to back off. You can win a battle and still lose your life's peace. Peace of mind is everything. Do me a favor, hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified whenever we go live. Hopefully you've been enlightened, educated. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. God bless. Peace. This is Ola Manofprestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoyed this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written 2 powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number 1 Red Flag, yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here.